This has been a nutty offseason. Now, before the draft hits us like a truck, I think it's time for another round of power rankings.
Russell Wilson trade to Denver, while the rest have looked to bolster their defenses. Stephen A., does the AFC West still run through Patrick Mahomes?
Until further notice, I would say yes.
We are in the midst of the craziest NFL offseason of all time. With all that being said, it's probably a good time for another edition of our offseason power rankings. Number 32, Houston Texans, last time's ranking 28. The Texans finally ended the Deshaun Watson saga by dealing the disgruntled quarterback to the Cleveland Browns. They are now loaded with draft capital that, if used accordingly, will speed up this rebuild. While other bottom feeders across the league spent large sums of cash to address the roster needs, the Texans are taking the patient approach. And hey, nobody can fault them for that. Number 31, Atlanta Falcons, last time's ranking 23. Matt Ryan alone was good enough to get the Falcons about 7 wins a year, but the front office finally committed to a tear-it-all-down and rebuild approach by unloading Matty Ice to the Indianapolis Colts. That move may have hurt sentimentally, but it's the one the Falcons had to make. Marcus Mariota is a fine short-term bridge to the next franchise QB. Now, the Falcons can focus on rebuilding through the draft as opposed to, well, whatever they were trying to do these last few years with Ryan in the fold. Number 30, New York Jets, last time's ranking 31. The Jets addressed the secondary by adding a hard-hitting safety Jordan Whitehead and cornerback DJ Reed. They beefed up the offensive line by bringing in veteran guard Laken Tomlinson. A fantastic start to the offseason for GM Joe Douglas. If he can hit home runs on both of his team's first-round picks, the Jets could really make some noise in 2022. Number 29, Jacksonville Jaguars, last time's ranking 30. Overpaid or not, Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram give Trevor Lawrence 2 quality weapons that he noticeably lacked during his rookie season. Kirk has the potential to be a number 1 wideout, and Ingram can be a nice security blanket for T-Law. Brandon Scherff fills a major hole in the interior of that offensive line. And Super Bowl 56 champion Darius Williams provides stability in the secondary. Number 28, Detroit Lions, last time's ranking 27. The Lions didn't spend too much in free agency. They brought back pass rushing standout Chris Harris and landed former Jaguars wideout DJ Chark on a cheap deal. Jared Goff has an extra weapon at a low cost, as the Lions front office is wisely staying committed to the rebuild through the draft concept. And they're about to land another franchise cornerstone with the number 2 selection. Number 27, Carolina Panthers, last time's ranking 29. So far, they've missed out on Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, and Mitch Trubisky. And it doesn't look like they'll be getting Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo either. So, what's Carolina's plan at QB? I guess they have to reach for one with the number 6 selection, even though this draft class is much weaker at the position compared to previous years. Number 26, New York Giants, last time's ranking 32. Few teams have wasted more money than the G-Men in free agency over the years. New GM Joe Shane has wisely stayed away from making any more of those pricey mistakes, as his eyes are focused solely on the upcoming draft. New York has a pair of first-round picks in the top 7, giving Shane a prime opportunity to quickly turn this group around. Number 25, Seattle Seahawks, last time's ranking 21. Trading Russell Wilson was a necessary evil. Seattle was no longer a contender even with Russ in the fold. So it was wise to take a step back and trade away the future Hall of Famer while his trade value was at its highest. They did get Noah Fant in the deal, and he joins a deep set of offensive weapons that should prevent the Seahawks from being a true bottom feeder next year. That is, at least, if they can find a half-decent quarterback. Number 24, Chicago Bears, last time's ranking 26. The Bears haven't made any splashy moves whatsoever in free agency. They unloaded Khalil Mack's hefty contract to the Los Angeles Chargers, which opens up some long-term cap room for them. Guard Lucas Patrick and receiver Byron Pringle were brought in on cheap deals. But is that really going to help Justin Fields take that next step forward in year 2? He lost Allen Robinson, and the Bears don't have a first-round pick to do anything major. This has been a lackluster start for rookie GM Ryan Poles, to say the very least. Number 23, Washington Commanders, last time's ranking 25. Their biggest move thus far was taking a chance on quarterback Carson Wentz, who was acquired in a trade with the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Wentz gets a lot of hate, but he's definitely better than almost anyone Washington has used in the post-Kirk Cousins era. If Ron Rivera can get the most out of him, Washington could absolutely reemerge as a playoff contender. Number 22, Minnesota Vikings. Last time's ranking, 22. The Vikings' most noteworthy move was extending Kirk Cousins for another year. With limited cap space, they were able to bring in 2 quality defensive starters in Jordan Hicks and Za'Darius Smith. So the front 7 hopefully will not be a weakness in 2022. Minnie has the tools in place to contend for a wildcard spot. Now, if they could just find a number 1 corner in the draft. Number 21, Pittsburgh Steelers. Last time's ranking, 14. Say what you want about Mitch Trubisky, but he is unquestionably an upgrade over the injury-riddled past his prime Ben Roethlisberger. Trubisky's mobility makes him an intriguing fit in Matt Canada's offense. And we wouldn't doubt Mike Tomlin's ability to unlock the former first-round pick's true potential. The O-line was also bolstered by the signings of James Daniel and Mason Cole. The Steelers will be in tough against a loaded AFC North next season, but with the improvements they've made, they should at least remain competitive. Number 20, the Indianapolis Colts. Last time's ranking, 18. Well, the Colts accomplished their main goal of replacing Carson Wentz. They shipped him off to Washington and subsequently landed Matt Ryan as their new QB. Honestly, an excellent use of resources by GM Chris Ballard. If the Colts can strengthen their secondary and pass rush through the draft, they'll have the makings of a legitimate contender in the AFC. Number 19, Philadelphia Eagles. Last time's ranking, 15. The Eagles re-signed Anthony Harris, Fletcher Cox, and Derek Barnett. Jason Kelce opted to delay retirement for at least another year. All these were pretty nice moves to begin with, but what we absolutely loved the most was Howie Roseman's addition of Hassan Reddick to complement Cox and Brandon Graham. And with a trio of first-round picks in this year's draft, Philly can really make the jump to championship contender in short time. Number 18, New Orleans Saints. Last time's ranking, 20. Marcus Williams was a big loss, but the cap-strapped Saints were able to replace him with former Jet standout Marcus May. Their biggest move thus far was bringing back Jameis Winston on a 2-year pact after missing out on Deshaun Watson. With Winston back, the Saints should once again be able to compete for a playoff spot in the weakening NFC. With the draft coming up, the focus is now on upgrading the supporting cast around Winston. Number 17, Arizona Cardinals. Last time's ranking, 11. Arizona let top pass rusher Chandler Jones walk, and they didn't find replacements for Christian Kirk or AJ Green. Keeping James Conner was a must, but that $21 million price tag may be a bit of an overpay. Isn't the goal to build around Kyler Murray and compete for championships? Losing 2 of your top 3 receivers and your defensive MVP is not a good start. Number 16, Denver Broncos. Last time's ranking, 24. Trading for Russell Wilson instantly made Denver a playoff contender. Adding pass rushing standout Randy Gregory to an already elite defense just makes this unit even scarier. The only complaint if you're a Broncos fan? Well, you still have to deal with a potent Chiefs team as well as the much improved Chargers and Raiders squads in the AFC West. But all that being said, everything is still in place for Denver to return to relevance next season. Number 15, Las Vegas Raiders. Last time's ranking, 12. Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones? How often does a team land 2 Hall of Famers, one on each side of the ball, in a single offseason? And I think these Raiders made the playoffs last season. Again, the only complaint for Raiders fans is that their gauntlet of a division doesn't guarantee a playoff spot. Number 14, Dallas Cowboys. Last time's ranking, 10. Not a fun offseason for Dallas. Cap issues meant saying goodbye to star wideout Amari Cooper, offensive lineman La'el Collins, and Connor Williams, pass rusher Randy Gregory, plus another solid receiver in Cedric Wilson Jr. They were able to extend Michael Gallup though, and Dallas is still the heavy favorite to win the NFC East next season. So they get to stay in the top half of our rankings, at least for now. Number 13, Miami Dolphins. Last time's ranking, 19. Perhaps no individual player is happier than Tua Tagovailoa at the moment. All the Dolphins did was acquire superstar wideout Tyreek Hill to give their quarterback another explosive weapon alongside Jalen Waddle. And that was after they signed Cedric Wilson Jr. and retained tight end Mike Gesicki. Longtime Saints star Terron Armstead and Connor Williams will beef up Tua's pass protection. Oh, and Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert give Miami 2 capable starting running back options. Suddenly, the sky is the limit for this offense. Number 12, New England Patriots. Last time's ranking, 8. 1 year after embarking on a free agent spending spree, the Patriots opted to be relatively quiet to start off the 2022 offseason. Star corner J.C. Jackson, guard Shaq Mason, and starting linebacker Kyle Van Noy are among the notable losses. Then again, nobody is better at replacing veteran talent than Bill Belichick, who brought back old friend Malcolm Butler on a 2-year deal. Would you really be shocked if Butler replaced Jackson as the next great shutdown corner in Foxborough? Number 11. Cleveland Browns. Last time's ranking, 13. The Browns were willing to deal with the PR backlash, giving up a king's ransom for disgruntled Texans QB Deshaun Watson. His new deal is a massive 5-year pact for $230 million. Fully guaranteed. Before landing Watson, the Browns acquired Cooper to replace the departed Jarvis Landry. Cleveland has put all their eggs into the Watson basket. So now, only time will tell if it pays off. Number 10. Tennessee Titans. Last time's ranking, 9. The Titans cut Julio Jones after a forgettable 2021 season that was ravaged by injuries. They essentially replaced him with Robert Woods, landing the former Rams star for the bargain price of a 6th-round pick. Woods and A.J. Brown should be one of the league's most explosive pass-catching duos in 2022. The goal now is to upgrade the O-line at the draft. Number 9. Los Angeles Chargers. Last time's ranking, 17. The Chargers' defense was among the league's worst in 2021, but that will all change next season with the addition of J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack. Mack and Joey Bosa terrorizing opposing QBs together, Jackson manning the secondary with Derwin James and Asante Samuel Jr., and we didn't even mention the Justin Herbert-led offense yet. Well, welcome back to Super Bowl contention, Bolts. Number 8. Baltimore Ravens. Last time's ranking, 7. Healthy versions of Lamar Jackson, Marlon Humphrey, and Marcus Peters alone will make the Ravens a contender once again. But wait, they also signed ball-hawking safety Marcus Williams to further strengthen this downright scary secondary. And Michael Pierce was signed to fix the interior defensive line. It's time for opposing teams to start worrying about John Harbaugh's Ravens once again. Number 7. San Francisco 49ers. Last time's ranking, 4. The 49ers beefed up their secondary by adding former Kansas City Chiefs corner Charvarius Ward. To be honest, GM John Lynch didn't have to do much heading into the offseason. This is a championship caliber roster as is. The only question is if Trey Lance is truly ready for the starting duties. Number 6. Los Angeles Rams. Last time's ranking, 2. Losing Andrew Whitworth, Robert Woods, Austin Corbett, Von Miller, and Darius Williams really hurts. But the Rams still kept the bulk of their Super Bowl 56 winning core together, and Allen Robinson was a beautiful addition to this already prolific offense. It'll be hard to repeat with all those losses, but Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Ramsey alone are enough to keep this team among the top Super Bowl favorites for 2022. Number 5. Green Bay Packers. Last time's ranking, 5. The Packers wanted to keep Devontae Adams, but he was adamant about playing in Vegas. Nothing Green Bay could really do there. The good news is that Aaron Rodgers did commit to playing here long-term, so the Pack will remain contenders. And here's an undeniable fact. They are 7-0 without Adams under Matt LaFleur, so we're sure Green Bay will be just fine. Number 4. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last time's ranking, 16. When we last did these power rankings, Tom Brady was retired. Well, not anymore. It only lasted 40 days, and his return led to the re-signing of Chris Godwin, Ryan Jensen, Carlton Davis, and Leonard Fournette. Tampa also added Russell Gage to serve as their number 3 wideout, and Shaq Mason was acquired in a trade with the Patriots. So, yep, these Bucs are a legitimate contender for the Lombardi Trophy once again. Number 3. Cincinnati Bengals. Last time's ranking, 6. Wow, the Bengals went to the Super Bowl with one of the worst offensive lines ever assembled. What's their ceiling now after adding 3 studs in Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, and La'el Collins this offseason? Cincy's greatest weakness is now one of their strengths. That's a pretty scary thought for the 31 other NFL teams. Number 2. Kansas City Chiefs. Last time's ranking, 1. Yes, they lost Tyreek Hill while watching their main AFC competitors all get better. But you need to trust top-notch organizations like the Chiefs to find a way. Simple as that. Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdes-Scantling will soften the loss a hill. Not to mention that KC has 2 first-round picks in a receiver-heavy draft. We wouldn't hit the panic button quite yet, Chiefs fans. After all, you still have a couple of pretty good players in Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Number 1. Buffalo Bills. Last time's ranking, 3. You just had the league's top-ranked defense, and now you're adding future Hall of Famer Von Miller into the fold? The Bills were the NFL's most complete team coming into the offseason, with a top 5 offense and defense last year. No excuses, it is Super Bowl or bust for the Bills in 2022. But who do you think is the team to beat following NFL free agency? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.